From the city of Palms, deep in the heart of South Texas, where Spanglish is the common tongue, you've reached RTD Radio.
Good for you.
Thank you once again for tuning in for another week of RTD Radio.
Spanglish, huh?
Spanglish, yes, it is a common tongue here in beautiful sunny South Texas.
I thought it was like the official dialect.
It's
of the valley.
It should be if it's not.
Yeah. Wow.
Definitely, yeah.
Hello, everybody out there in internet land.
Mm-hmm.
We are roadtodamascusradio.com or rtdradio.com, caminoadamascoradio.com for our Spanish-speaking audience, which we will get to.
We will be updating shortly.
Man, we're doing like 8 to 1. It's all good. We'll get there.
It's difficult. Just think of you guys trying to translate our shows, everything that's said into Spanish. It can get done, but it takes a little while.
Well, we don't translate word for word.
No, not for word, but I mean, we try to get the point across.
The same ideas so that we don't offset.
Exactly.
Or at least that's the idea.
And be consistent.
So for all of y'all who are barely tuning in for the very first time, like I mentioned, the website, you can also catch us on YouTube through Road to Damascus Radio YouTube channel, directly on our website, or are we ever going to do Twitter or any of that stuff?
You know what? Once we hit, let's say, 20,000 views, I think it might be worth it to do a Twitter.
Okay.
Or Facebook.
All right.
Just because to keep up with that.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, folks. Our milestone, 20,000 views on any one of our,
our YouTube
8th or 9th episode?
Something like that. Yeah.
Then we will tweet for y'all.
Yes.
We'll get up on
live updates and research and things going on in the obscure world of extra biblical topics.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring Periscope in here one of these days.
Yeah.
No guest today.
Yeah.
No guest today. We're gonna go
no guest today.
Just Armando us and myself.
Yes. Now, today's episode, we're gonna be focusing on a topic that both Carlos and myself have been receiving requests almost constantly.
Yeah.
It's a topic that I know I've mentioned before that scares me, terrifies me, but at the same time intrigues me for whatever unknown reason.
Man.
This topic we're going to talk about today is none other than the black-eyed kids. Yeah. So, like I said, I mentioned it in one of the paranormal shows, but today we're going to go a little bit more in depth into it.
Yeah, we've gotten some complaints that we get into too many subjects on each one of our shows.
We try to cover too much.
Yeah, so this is not part of our first part series. This is kind of like a addendum? No.
Like a branch.
It's like a branch.
Yeah, it's just
we just wanted to get it in there.
Yeah, it's a requested show.
I'll say that.
Yeah, honestly, we had quite a few people. I know, even on me and Carlos, we had quite a few people actually request they want to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, they would rather hear about this than God, but that's cool. And I'm just playing.
Come on.
No, I just think just the actual idea of a black-eyed child is something, like I said, both terrifying and intriguing. It's like a car accident. You don't want to look, but you kind of want to see what's going on.
There you go.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
And before we get started on the black-eyed kids, I know, I think you had something to say about YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Mentioning that we have our Road to Damascus YouTube channel. Just real quick, I hope we can abide by the YouTube community guidelines, which prohibit spam, scams, or commercially deceptive content.
Whatever that means.
I'm being ironic here because YouTube, you guys know what you're doing. I mean, come on. Y'all took down our boy Alberino's channel, who engaged in none of the aforementioned activities. And
you still took him down.
Yeah. You know, and I don't think it's justified in any way, shape, or form. He actually never mentioned a commercially sellable product at all. Ever. And, you know,
besides his show, or the DVD, but I mean,
Well, he didn't mention it on the Alberino
oh no,
analysis.
he didn't. You're correct.
No,
You're
not on
correct.
the Alberino analysis. On Gen 6 Productions, he did.
Yeah.
But YouTube's not trying to touch Steve Quayle.
He's too big.
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean...
And he'll raise hell.
Well, not only that, I think Quayle's got, like, strings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, one of the a really, really good, and we can honestly say trustworthy source that we get not just our biblical knowledge from, but some of the knowledge of some of these, let's say, not discussed
extra
biblical topics is a gentleman by the name of Timothy Alberino.
Yeah.
Now he is a guy that, I mean, he does his research into it. He lives his research. He's the actual, like, hate to compare, like Indiana Jones. Like, he's literally been to other countries researching biblical topics, things like that. Like, he's not afraid to get dirty.
Yeah.
Now he had a series of webisodes called the Alberino Analysis.
Yes.
Where he actually would break down different topics. Some videos were 15 minutes, some were hours. Some, just like our show, had different parts. Yeah, they're quite extensive depending on what he was talking about. Now, not just us, I mean, a lot of people worldwide would come to him as, let's say, like a reference, a source for knowledge, and really just check up on what else is new.
Yeah. That's why we're ranting about it, because we feel...
His channel was taken down. I'm sorry.
It was just taken down point blank, no warning. And again, I just read off the YouTube community guidelines, which it seems simple.
It's pretty vague.
Prohibit spam, scams, or commercially deceptive content. Now, we're just ranting about this because at least I think there will be a day when this is an example of selective.
Gotcha.
What are we going to call it? Selective, not
censorship, man.
Censorship. Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with their series True Legends and the stuff that they're about to talk about. Like,
I think some of the research he's done and confirmed is starting to ruffle a lot of feathers because he's at the forefront, the tip of the spear as far as waking people up as to what's really going on biblically and also in the physical world and the spiritual world.
Yeah. And
so he's
when we say research, sorry,
no, you're good.
When we say research, see the difference between some of the stuff that we present to y'all and like some of the stuff that Gen 6 does. Hopefully one day we'll get there. But they have a budget and they actually go to these places to show you what they're talking about.
The evidence.
We are not there yet. Hopefully one day we'll get there. We serve as what Dr. Michael Heiser calls Middle Earthers.
The Middle Earth.
Yeah, we're not theologians. We're not professional. We're not involved in professional eschatology. Armando once mentioned the phrase armchair quarterback. I guess you could loosely say that's what's going on. We regurgitate some of the stuff that we study on our own into this show in the hopes of bridging the gap and getting a lot of y'all interested in doing some more in-depth studies. Because at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
It's not a doctrine. We're not trying to teach anybody anything. We're trying to bridge the gap of knowledge, tie it into what we consider the big picture, the biblical narrative, and make you aware of what's going on. Yes, I was about to say.
I want to, honestly myself, I just want to raise awareness.
There you go.
I'm not trying to indoctrinate you to believe how I believe.
No.
I really want to just present you some of the evidence. And honestly, I believe you're smart enough to put two and two together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. We're bridging the gap for some of our brothers and sisters out there who are not going to hear this in the pulpit and who don't have another option.
Yeah.
But
there's no outlet.
Yeah. Start with us. And hopefully, we will lead y'all into studying some other people, listening to some other people, which we're constantly mentioning. We have no commercial interest in any of this. Our YouTube channel is not monetized. We have nothing to gain other than your awareness, and hopefully lead you into being excited about walking your own walk towards your own salvation. Which at the end of the day is our takeaway from this.
Yep.
That's it. Well, that, and we get to chit chat about stuff that we're passionate about for an hour plus.
That's a plus.
Every Wednesday, which we've been pretty constant about.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So, without further ado...
So, you're going to wrap up the rant on YouTube?
I needed to get that out there because I just wanted to be out there.
Yeah. And also, to add on to that, some of you that are just getting interested in some of these topics we're talking about, take advantage and start looking at YouTube now before some of these videos are taken down.
Download as much
them.
As you can.
Yes, because there's gonna be like you alluded to right now. There's gonna come a time where you know what, you can't talk about this openly anymore.
Yeah,
you can't discuss these topics openly anymore. It's gonna be not just shunned. It's gonna be straight out censored.
Yeah.
So take advantage of the fact that you still have some of your freedoms.
Yeah.
And people out there are still fighting the fight against ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll leave it at that.
If I'm not mistaken, there is a bill that got passed that's about to be is relative, that will be voted on, that deals with a commission of what the government is now going to label fake news.
Correct, yeah.
Apparently they're trying to get together a commission are comprised of some of the big players in media to basically delegate them
what's true or not,
as the people who are going to judge what's true or not based on avoiding what they're calling propaganda. Now, if that doesn't sound like a Stasi,
or that's not scary,
tactic, like
I don't think it's gonna pass because too many people are still caring right now. Maybe honestly, maybe in about 10 years, when this new generation coming up has their head so far in their cell phones that they don't even know what's going on.
Well, but
we'll see. I honestly didn't think the whole internet passing to the UN wasn't going to pass, but it did. It did last year. For those of you that don't know, the internet is no longer proper to the U.S. government or the U.S. people. The internet is now in the control of the UN as of September last year. Yeah. So I didn't think that was going to pass, and you know what? That surprised me. Yeah. So you know what? You're right. It might.
Which means a lot of things. Which means now the United Nations, whom supposedly are impartial to any...
Supposedly,
any...
every country except Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
They now have the blatant authority to tap, track, record...
Shut down.
Investigate, or shut down anybody on the World Wide Web. Now... a lot of you out there are going to scream deep web, Tor.
Come on.
But, I mean, do we have to go there?
Yeah.
Whatever. The idea is that the doors are closing on the trap.
Yep. And
that's how I'm going to say it.
No, it's true. And you know what? There's a few out there still paying attention, but not enough are.
Yeah.
So we're getting dragged down with the rest.
Yeah. So in case one of these days we get shut down from YouTube, today is March 22nd, 2017.
7:31 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes. And we are openly ranting and stating our opposition to what the powers of B are trying to do to our freedoms. Yeah.
All right. I think that's enough of that.
That's enough, man.
The only reason these people tuned in was to hear a nice, fat, juicy, black-eyed kid story. All right. Just like our previous shows, let's go ahead and define what is a black-eyed kid.
Because, I mean, I have black eyes. Am I a black-eyed kid?
Technically, nobody has black eyes because your pupil.
This is true.
Yeah. And your iris.
Brown.
Exactly. Dark brown. All right, now a black-eyed child or children is defined as it's an urban legend right now of supposed paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin and black eyes who are reportedly seen hitchhiking or panhandling or are encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. The first recorded story, or not recorded, the first major story of a black-eyed child that appeared is in 1998, written by Texas reporter Brian Bethel, when he was describing his encounter in Abilene, Texas.
Here locally.
Here, not locally, but here in the state.
Yeah.
Abilene is like 8 hours from here.
Yeah.
But still here in Abilene, Texas. And then there have been countless claims beyond that. And it only seems to be growing every year. Now, of course, you're not going to hear these stories on the news. You're really not.
No.
You're probably going to hear these stories more like on Facebook chats or forums or discussions. Coast to coast. The black-eyed kids phenomenon, I'm going to call it that, the awareness of a black-eyed kids has been discussed for a while and has been, of course, discussed on shows like Coast to Coast, Beyond the Darkness, Paranormal Express, Fades of Black, Darkness Radio, of course, the Alberino analysis, which we referenced. L.A. Marzulli has some shows on it. Hagman, Josh Tully, I think you said.
Yeah, Josh Tully did a
special on it.
Yeah, Josh Peck.
Yeah, Josh Peck did on it. Skywatch News over there. Those guys did a show on it.
Yeah.
Did Gons do a show on it?
I think they did.
I think Canary Cry Radio. Yeah, Canary Cry Radio might have done a show on it. I believe they did, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just to show you that, look, a lot of people are taking lots of interest into this phenomenon.
Yeah.
They want to know, who are these black-eyed kids? What do they want? Where do they come from? What are they doing?
Who is the source for that definition, by the way?
The source for that definition, in this case, would have been Wikipedia, because that's really the only one that's going to define it.
Okay.
If anybody does a Google search on black-eyed children, the first thing you're going to see, of course, are these horrid pictures. The images. Now, if that doesn't scare you or that doesn't freak you out, then you're probably one of them. No. Yeah, and then you're going to read up on different websites that have different stories. All of them are going to describe it mainly the same way. These children, or creatures resembling children, the ages of 6 to 16, and of course, the most dominant feature would be their solid black eyes. And when I say black eyes, I'm not talking about just the iris or the pupil. I'm talking about literally the entire eyeball.
So the white
everything, when you look
eyes.
in the mirror at your eyes, it's white. Imagine it completely solid black.
Ooh, okay.
Just like a cue ball, like a pool ball, just solid black. And that's the dominant feature of these children.
Yeah, I'd call that pretty dominant. For sure.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. Now, we referenced the origins in 1998, but in doing some research, there's actually stories even from the 1980s in England of people reporting black-eyed children. Okay. There's actually stories even older than that, going back to, let's say, even the 60s. So it really wasn't until the advent of the internet, where information could literally be disseminated widespread, that it started getting big. And it really didn't actually jump into pop culture until 2012, when there was an actual horror film called Black-Eyed Kids. Yeah. So
I'm curious. Are there any, I don't want to call them ancient, but older references that might allude to something like the Black-Eyed Kids?
That I can tell, no. I have not seen it.
Me neither.
Yeah, I haven't seen any kind of evidence of, let's say, black-eyed kids in Egypt or Rome or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you got ancient stories of, roving bands of children that do bad things. Don't get me wrong. But as far as, let's say, them having all black eyes, I couldn't tell you yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we started describing the black-eyed kids. Into more detail, these black-eyed kids are specifically described as having pasty white skin, almost artificial.
Yeah.
If you can call it that.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're either wearing ill-fitting clothes, they're too big. It's imagine a little kid wearing his big brother's shirt. Or something like that. They're usually in a hoodie or really drab clothing.
Baggy style.
Yeah, or there's even been cases where they're wearing scrubs. I don't want to say scrubs, but the hospital gown.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're just odd in the first place. Now these black-eyed kids are not stuck to a specific race. Like they're not all white kids, or they're not all Mexican kids, or they're not all black or Asian or whatever.
So they are mixed.
These I'm not gonna say mixed. I'm gonna say they're varied. Mixed would be like half and half or whatever. No, they're varied, and these stories are global. I just literally alluded to a story in 1980s in England.
Yeah.
Now, the story that it came out on the internet was here in Texas. Yeah, there's stories of black-eyed children encounters in Australia, in Asia, Africa, not so much, but you also got like Russia, parts of Europe, and of course North America, whether it be Mexico, United States, and China, and Canada. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, and these kids, they speak, of course, the local language. So, if the child is in United States, he's gonna speak English. If he's in France, he's gonna speak French. Things like that.
Yeah.
Now, these children speak, when they do speak to you, they're almost completely monotone.
Okay.
They don't have, there's almost like an emotionless aspect to their speech.
Yeah.
They're just matter of fact. They don't joke around. It's almost like they never smile. It's just a very like almost rehearsed speech.
That's what I was going to ask. Do they have some kind of script? Or it depends on the situation?
Yeah, from the stories and situations I've studied and heard and looked into, almost everything they say seems to be scripted, where if somebody responds to them in such a way where they're not used to it or wasn't part of the script, they kind of get lost and refer to the original script. Okay. So if they ask you, let me in, and you respond with something like, do you want some orange juice, for example?
Yeah.
They're not going to know how to answer to that. So all they're going to say is, can you let me in? Like they're just going to default back to their original script, what they know to say.
So just to be very clear, the idea is that they want in to wherever you're at.
Well, I wasn't going into that. I was kind of just describing some of the physical aspects of them. Now, they've also been physically described as like soulless. Looking into their eyes is like, I think we just saw a video right now. Man. It's looking into a cavern where at the bottom is nothing but pure evil. Something like that. There's just this horrid feeling of dread that comes over you just once you realize what you're looking into. Yeah. Physically, a 6 to 12-year-old, 6 to 16-year-old, they're going to be children. I mean, they're not going to be 6 foot tall, for example. Yeah. Yeah. On average, I mean, they're going to be the size of your average, let's say 10-year-old. They're going to be like, what, 4 feet? Yeah. And they're going to be non-imposing at first. Okay. You're not going to be, you're walking down the street, you see a kid, you're not going to automatically reach for your gun. Nah, you're going to just either ignore them or walk by. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what happens when they meet you? Now, I'm going to give you a breakdown of, let's say, a common story, like your common instances of what happens. Okay. Imagine yourself. It's late night, you're watching TV with your husband or wife, watching the news, see what's going on, all the Trump bashing or the world burning in the background. You hear a knocking at the door. An inexplicable feeling of something is about to happen takes over you. Okay. Now you're on your way to the door because you heard that knock, but you just get that gut feeling that like something's about to happen, something's about to go down, and it's not good. Okay. You answer the door. And you're surprised to find 2 children standing there with their heads bowed. They're looking down at the floor for whatever reason. Yeah. They're dressed in odd, drab, just like nothing standing out. Yeah. And their clothes are they're a little big, like I mentioned. Yeah. One of them's wearing a hoodie. The other one's wearing a shirt that's just too big for them. And the style of the clothing is a little outdated. Okay. So if you're in the 90s, they're dressed like in 80s clothing. Okay. Us in 2017... They may be wearing a shirt. You never know that wouldn't look. Yeah. It's just odd. Okay. Now you look at them, of course, and ask them. I mean, hello, how can I help you? The first thing they do is they ask for permission to enter your home. Okay. A common excuse they'll give is to use the bathroom or the telephone. Okay. And they constantly insist it's not going to take too long. Okay. Other times I've heard them asking, "We're here for dinner," or "We're hungry. Can we come in to eat?" Okay. Yeah. Now, like I mentioned, their voices are monotone and robotic. They seem really to be reciting like a practiced dialogue. Okay. Like it's almost like they've rehearsed or that's all they know. Or been trained. Yes. Yeah, okay. Now, during the course of the dialogue, one of them, I mean, for this part, if it's me and I see 2 kids at my front door, I mean, I'm gonna worry. Like, are you guys okay? You guys all right? Did somebody touch you? Do I need to call the police? Where are your parents? Things like that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we laugh, but I mean, as a human being, I'm gonna care.
Yeah.
Now, during the course of this dialogue, you still have that gut feeling. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You're still kind of like, what's suspicious? Now, one of them lifts their head, and in utter horror, you just look at their face, their pasty white skin, emotionless glance on their face as they look straight at you, and you notice that their eyes are completely black.
Yeah.
And on top of that, their skin looks almost fake.
Yeah. Okay.
At this point, that you're going to be consumed with terror.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that whatever inkling of helping these children immediately comes to
an end.
Your fight or flight senses kick in.
Okay.
And 99% are going to want to flee for their lives.
Yeah.
It's that scary.
Dang.
Yeah. Something about these children emits the fear. Yeah. Now, in panic, you're just going to make some random excuse, say no, and just slam the door shut.
Okay.
Of course, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, the children are going to disappear from the doorstep. But you're going to have this horrible sense of trauma, of traumatized on what you just seen, almost like a violation.
And
that's what happens.
So that's
a basic common story. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
The majority of the stories out there are going to be something like this. Now, in this case, I used your house because that's a common one.
Yeah.
Specifically, the story that came out by Brian Bethel in 1998, he was in a movie theater in Abilene, Texas.
Oh, in a movie theater?
It was in the parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, he was leaving. He was walking around. There's a movie theater
car.
close by. Yeah, he was in his car.
So they wanted into his car.
He's there fidgeting with his keys, doing whatever he's doing. There's a knock on his driver's side window. 2 young boys, somewhere between the ages of 9 and 12, dressed in hooded pullovers, are standing outside. Now, he cracks his window a little bit. He's already kind of expecting these kids are probably going to ask for money. Yeah. And you know what? He's all right. I mean, he has a few extra bucks he can spare. But just like I mentioned, he just got this horrible, intense feeling in his gut. Just a fear. He had no idea why, but he just had this fear. Now, he strikes a conversation with one of the boys. Specifically, he calls this one the spokesman. This kid is going to have olive-skinned, curly hair. He's a young guy, and like I said, in his hoodie. The other one behind him is a little smaller, red-headed, pale skin with freckles. Now, he kind of stayed in the back.
Okay.
He let the other one kind of go up and talk.
Yeah.
Now, he was thinking that these kids needed some money because at the time the movie Mortal Kombat was out, so he was thinking they're going to want that. But no, this kid actually asked that he needed a ride. He actually wanted to get into the car. Yeah. Now, he was frightened. Just like I said, he had this innate feeling of terror, but he said no. Now, after a while of him trying to kind of dance around that, I don't want to give you a ride, what do you think the kids do? They look up at him. Yeah. They move their hoodie enough to the point where he can see their face. Yeah. And he describes looking at their coal eyes as soulless orbs, like 2 great swaths in the starless night. Dang. Now, the first thing he did is he straight out put his car into gear and drove off. Now, he described that he literally almost hit him. Yeah. Which he didn't. Yeah. But the one of the kids actually screamed at him, "What? We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. What? Let us in." Yeah. Dang. So that's the story that kind of started it all. Okay. If you Google Brian Bethel, you can definitely find it. If anything, we'll try to put a link up there to his story.
Yeah, in the description of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about, like, do they smell like anything? Or?
There has been, yes. They said that there's like a reminiscent odor, just foul, ugly odor,
foul,
like stench.
Like bad, or maybe like putrefact, like skin or something.
I wouldn't know both. It's just this disgusting odor. Yeah. Now, a lot of questions people ask me, well, what do they want? Why do they want to come in? What happens if you let them in?
That's what I was about to ask.
I'll let you answer that.
What happened?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Probably. I mean, I
All
have
right. Yeah.
ideas about
Now,
what they are, but we'll
yeah,
get to that later.
we've heard some stories about and read some stories about people that have actually made the mistake and either accidentally let them in by uttering okay or yes or whatever,
Yeah.
and it usually doesn't turn out too good for that individual. Now,
Yeah.
we literally just read a story right now where somebody did let them in and they
Yeah.
immediately started clawing at their face.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that one. I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
There's another story where they come in and they apparently start walking to the restroom or the phone or whatever excuse they're given.
Yeah.
Halfway towards where they're going, they immediately turn around, look at the individual with their black eyes, and say, I'm here to collect you, or I'm hungry.
I'm here to collect you.
Yeah, or I'm hungry.
Dang, dude.
Now, I'll tell you this, there's not too many survivor stories. So I
Okay.
can only assume that either one, mostly everybody says no and slams the door in their face,
Yeah.
or two, the people that have let them in are either dead,
Yeah.
and of course, dead men tell no tales.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
if these children kill these individuals that let them in, and of course let themselves out,
Yeah.
there'd
We
be
don't-
no way of us knowing
Exactly what went on.
exactly what went on.
That's pretty crazy.
There is one. The only two stories I've ever heard of a survivor that's actually been touched by one
Yeah.
is a little boy, and I'll tell you his story. A little boy and his mom, they went to the nearest grocery store to get some milk.
Okay.
I mean, she needed milk, so she drives to the store, and of
Yeah.
course she leaves her son in the vehicle. And this is an older story. I mean, it's like in the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
And the kid's not like 2 or anything. No, the kid's
okay.
like 8 or 10. Like he's an older kid.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say.
So she lets him know, you know what? I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna get some milk. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Now she does her thing, goes inside or whatever, comes back out, just immediately gets in the car. She's about to back up. What's the first thing you do? You look in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
So she looks in the rearview mirror, and what does she see? But 2 big black eyes looking at her.
Yeah.
Now immediately she freaks out. She turns her head and she sees a black-eyed kid sitting there next to her son.
So they're already in the car.
So he's in the car.
The kid let him in.
Yes.
Okay.
While the mother was in the store, the
Yeah.
kid, the black-eyed kid, of course, went up to the car, knocked
Yeah.
on the window, and asked if he could come in to play.
Yeah.
And of course, the child said yes. So he actually gave them permission to let him in.
No.
So he let him in the car, and there was
Yeah.
some kind of physical contact, whether it be the black-eyed kid touched his hand
Yeah.
or bumped or whatever, but there was some contact. Now, of course, the mom immediately starts screaming, get out, gets her son,
Yeah.
and just literally runs off into the store. They call the police,
They
they
leave
do
the
everything.
car there.
Yeah, they leave the car there
Okay.
straight, it's still in the same parking lot.
Yeah.
In the space. Runs into the store, calls the police. The son's already showing symptoms of just he's
Being
getting sick.
ill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being ill.
Mm.
And the police get there. They look at the video footage. They don't see anything.
What?
Yeah, they don't see anything.
Oh, that's.
And the car's just there.
I had
The
not
car's
heard
still
that.
there. Yeah. When these kids disappear, they literally just, it's almost like they vanish into thin air. They just
And the surveillance
vanish.
doesn't show them walking
It
up
didn't
to
catch
the car.
anything. Nope. It
So-
sees the mom going in there, and it sees
then
the
coming out.
grabbing her child. Yes, it doesn't see the
Whoa.
kid knocking on the window and going in the car.
Wow. See, that I had not heard.
Yeah,
I had heard some stories, but they're along the lines of what you're talking about. And basically, what I had heard is that some kind of ill befalls the people that actually
Yeah.
allow them in.
or are physically touched by them.
Or-
Like if you try to grab one, for example.
Yeah, but at least the few stories that I had heard, it wasn't like an immediate reaction. It was like they had their interaction,
Like
they
days
leave,
later or something like that. Yeah,
and days later they just like fall,
or
dead.
nosebleeds or something.
Yeah, or they have like cancer or some kind
Yeah.
of like terminally ill thing because of this interaction.
yeah.
But that scratching at someone, clawing at
Somebody's face. Yeah,
man, I need to read some more of those stories. That sounds a little
I would say don't
out
do that.
there.
Yeah.
That
Read your
sounds
Bible.
out there, man.
Yeah, the kid that was the victim started feeling ill, so they take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
Now he started getting these like hardcore, horrible diseases.
Yeah.
where what's it called? Like where you're gonna die. Pretty much diseases like that.
Yeah.
And they keep just treating him and treating him and treating him. Where weeks passed and he was just getting any better. He was literally just agonized. His entire living was just painful.
Man.
Now these parents were not any kind of religious parents. So of course, what do? Of course, they try everything except prayer.
Yeah.
They're gonna try every doctor on earth before they get on their knees and pray.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what happened.
Yeah.
So they go to their local pastor.
Mm-hmm.
The guy they get to go see once a year on Christmas Day, and they ask him for help.
Yeah.
Now, what does this pastor do? He prays for the child, and he sees that, you know what, like this is not any kind of physical ailment. Something spiritually is attached to this child.
Yeah.
So it literally took a group of prayer warriors, as you would call them, fasting and actually praying constantly for this child for I forgot for how long.
Yeah.
Until they were actually able to, I don't want to say exorcise him, but get whatever spiritual entity was on that child by that physical touch, so that he was actually the only person I know that touched and survived one. Now this story you're not going to find anywhere written down. I actually heard it on a YouTube video, and I think it was actually given by the mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're actually going to have to do some, it's kind of her testimony, because there are people out there that actually will go and search for the people, yes. The people in the stories, because they're going to want to verify it just as much as you do. Now, the stories we're telling you now are not like just fake stories we heard in some blog. No, for the most part, they're actual individuals. They're real people. You can look it up. You can go speak to them yourself. Kind of things.
Let's put some of those in the description.
Yeah, let's put some of those,
so and you can at least reach the source that we reached.
And I think the guy that did the reporting on it, his name is David Weatherly. He has a book called The Black-Eyed Children, which is available on Amazon. It's a paperback from 2012 that actually anybody can purchase.
Okay.
This guy will cite the source. Okay. He'll talk to the police officers that responded. Things like that. Like he's that guy. Yeah. But the other story I heard of somebody that survived it would have been somebody that, accidentally said yes out of fear or terror and said, yes, come into my home, or let them into their home. Yeah. But by the time they realized what they did, they were so filled with fear that they just straight out ran out the back. Okay. Yeah, I think I mentioned that one to you right now. They straight out ran out the back without the kid having touched them or whatnot. But there was poltergeist like activity
in the house.
In the house. Yes. So even after like days later, things were still happening around the house that was quote unquote paranormal.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that leads me to the obvious question. What do you think these things are? Are they, of course they're physical, so we can't call it a purely spiritual.
No, it's not some encounter. It's not some spirit coming at you.
It's not a vision. No. It's a physical manifestation. Although the video thing kind of threw me for a loop. I had not heard that.
Well, I'm not going to say that they're invisible or they're like not being able to see by video. Yeah. Now, there's a specific story by L.A. Marzulli. Oh, he actually did an entire video series, or a good chunk of his video series on it. I think it's episode 5 of his series that he has now. Yeah. Just specifically on the black-eyed children. Now, he tells a story of a pastor that was actually walking down the street one day and saw, I believe it was a young girl. Okay. It was a young girl that came at him and started, she was asking something.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yes.
When, like a jogger.
Yes.
And started saying all these, like, really harsh...
Yeah, really bad things we're not gonna repeat on this on the show. Yeah, you can talk to us in private. Yeah, but yeah, she started straight out blaspheming to this pastor. It knew that he was a pastor or at least a man of God. Yeah, there you go. Now, it was ugly, and he didn't really get scared until once again this individual, and like you said, a jogger, because of the loose clothing. Okay, yeah. Yeah, not to say that this individual was just jogging down the street trying to lose weight. No, it's just jogging in the attire that I was wearing. Yeah, okay. Now, looks up at him and has these hideous black eyes, yes. Yeah. Now, he is the only person that I've known or I've heard that has actually rebuked it, that didn't run, but actually straight out rebuked it in the name of Christ. Yeah. And this creature straight out crawled on walls to get
What?
away from him.
Like
Yeah,
shrieked.
Yes, like shrieked, and also
Wow.
straight out walked on walls, like just straight out like Spider-Man to
Yeah.
leave just this guy's presence.
Wow.
So,
See, that's
yeah.
a lesson to everybody. Rebuke and then ask questions.
Yeah, rebuke and ask questions later kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this guy didn't run. I mean, I'm sure he was afraid, but given that he had that faith and he was a man of God, his first instinct was not to punch it, but to rebuke it in the name of Christ.
Rebuke, yeah,
exactly.
of course.
I mean, you got other stories of, let's say, military veterans, specifically a Marine
Yeah.
that has seen one of these. I mean, these are battle-hardened Marines, survived IEDs, survived Iraq.
Yeah.
But they come back and see one of these black-eyed kids, and the first thing they do is run and
Wow.
and slam the door. But you got this little old pastor
Yeah.
that he's fought different kinds of battles.
Yeah. Spiritual.
So he's able to actually stand up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a big difference between physical toughness and spiritual toughness.
Yeah. And nothing
For
bad about the
sure.
Marines, of course. I'm just using that
No.
example of just how fear-inducing these creatures are.
Yeah. How much of an emotional response is involved with
Yeah.
these
Creatures. I'm gonna call them
experiences,
creatures,
Yeah. There you go.
Now, you asked me a question. What do I think they
Yeah.
are?
What do you think they are?
What I think they are is, of course, something demonic, something satanic,
Okay.
because of the fact that they are able to be rebuked in the first place,
Yeah.
and because of the fact, like I gave you that story of that child, he was
Yeah.
able eventually to be healed through prayer and fasting.
Prayer. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
interesting.
I think it's something demonic, something satanic.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, I do believe, yes, it is something physical.
Yeah.
Worst case, if somebody wanted to, they could physically grab it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna advise against doing that if you ever do see yourself in that position.
Yeah.
But they're
sure.
physical. One, how do we know? One, they touch the kid.
Yeah.
Two, they knock on your door.
Yeah.
Knock on your window.
Is not gonna
A spirit
knock on
can't
your
knock.
door. Well,
Something needs to have mass in order to knock.
Yeah.
I suppose it could make the knocking sound,
Yeah.
but it's enough to get you up from your chair or
Chair.
whatever, or to get your attention.
Yeah.
Now,
That's interesting.
yeah, I think it's a possessed, huh?
I had heard other points of view, which I
Yeah,
guess
no,
now
yeah.
is the time to throw them in there.
There's other points of view. I've heard they're vampires. I've
had
heard that they're aliens, they're hybrids.
That's what I had heard. I had heard on a, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Coast to Coast. I don't remember. I'll try and remember and cite it in the description on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard a guy who said a few stories about them, and he was talking about he correlated it with alien abductions.
Yeah.
And his theory was that some of the products of these alien abductions that include rape, well, there's no other word for it, you know, rape by the aliens, where, you know, males literally get abducted, and in their experience they have like hoses attached to their genitals, and they have like an ejaculation, right? And females who get abducted, and, you know, between being sedated and not, they have these visions of being like artificially inseminated, right? And there are stories out there of women actually going through the 9 months of labor and getting close to the birth. They're abducted again, and all of a sudden the child is like extracted. So this person was postulating the idea that these black-eyed kids were the products of alien abductions, and their experimentation on trying to combine their DNA with ours. I thought that was the most out there theory.
You know what's funny that you said that?
Yeah.
Now, we, of course, I can see people rolling their eyes or whatnot, or aliens, alien this, alien that. You know what? There's our specific references to it. I think I mentioned in a previous show Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah, of course.
I would ask you guys, do your own research. That specific story,
Yeah.
Both of them claim that genetic material was taken from them. So in her case, her ovum was taken, and in his case, semen was taken.
Semen was taken.
Now this is like in the 50s, guys.
Yeah.
So it's not something we're just bringing up and we saw an episode of the X-Files.
And honestly, at this point in time, if you guys out there are still debating or going back and forth on the alien abduction phenomena, I'm sorry, but y'all are out of it.
Yeah.
Because this is as proven as it can get without it physically happening to you. I mean, when you talk about comparative analysis, empirical data, I know you hate that word, Armando, but
it's all right.
I got to use it.
Love it.
Empirical data refers to that. It refers to experiences that are distributed amongst different people whom are not part of a control group, whom have no coincidence between them, and in no way, shape, or form would have the necessity or the means to agree upon a certain story. And their experiences have telltale markers that are similar among the different stories. So when you get people from different parts of the world telling more or less the same story, and it's nearly impossible for them to have contacted each other in order to elaborate a hoax, I mean, that's as scientific as you can get without throwing everybody into a laboratory and trying to control all aspects of their life and monitoring them. So, again.
Yeah, and going back to it, look, we literally did a show on demonic possessions.
Yeah.
In the middle of that show was what? Incubus and succubus.
Exactly.
So, and what was the purpose of the incubus and succubus?
It's a sexual encounter.
It was a sexual encounter. Now, now we didn't want to go into it, but yes, in some of these cases, they do extract genetic material from their victims. In the case of the women, of course, the ovum, the men, the semen.
Yeah.
And you want to go farther into it, there's actually a name for some of these hybrid half demon, half human creatures that are the result of this mixture. Now, if somebody's gonna believe that, because we did reference specific passages and things like that to where demons do exist, things like that,
guys.
And also
a pope who admitted to doing this.
And on top of that, I gave literally a list of celebrities that have had these experiences with these so-called spirits. Now, is it easy for a spirit to disguise him or herself as an alien? Yes.
Yeah,
I would say yes.
Yeah.
A lot of these UFO abductions that I think we've mentioned are very reminiscent of, let's say, the Renaissance descriptions of us incubus and succubus encounter. Yeah. And of course, what's the first thing that will drive them away? Of course, rebuking them. Yeah. So there is not too far of a stretch to link these two together.
Of course not.
Yeah.
That's where I was coming from.
But yeah, going back to it, yes, there's some horrible, horrible stories of women getting abducted, being forcefully inseminated. Yeah. And some of them are forced to go. I've never heard a story of them going full term, the full 9 months. Yeah. Usually the first trimester, when these visitors will come back, literally and take the baby out and take the baby straight out. Yeah. And the mom, of course, is just stuck there figuring out what they're going to do. Yeah, they let the baby gestate in the mother just long enough to where it has a shape. Yeah. Now, I've heard even worse stories of sometimes they'll abduct the mother 6-7 months after the 9 month time period would have passed, so she can actually see and hold this horrible hybrid creature. Oh, that's bad. Is actually the result.
That's terrible.
It's disgusting, and it's now what more horrid, what more torturous thing would you want to do? And that's literally the MO of a demon. Yeah, it only makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Now, if you're able to believe in demons haunting your house, you're able to believe in demons obsessing and possessing people. Believing in UFOs doing the same exact thing, just in a spaceship, is not too far of a stretch.
No, it's not.
It's the same thing, just different. They're just wearing different clothes.
Yeah.
Now. That's what I think a black-eyed kid. When I say it's demonic, I believe it's not a fully human A Cambrian, I think is what you were looking for.
Cambrian.
Yeah,
There you go.
Cambian,
That's
sorry,
the
is the
name.
name is the name of the succubus
the
incubus
result.
hybrid creature. Cambian. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
Why?
But
I mean, that's what we're doing here.
yeah.
We're exposing.
So that's what I think these kids are. I think they're soulless creatures,
There
which
you
is
go.
why they don't have that eye. They have solid black eyes. Inside them is nothing but pure evil. They're half human
Yeah.
in their appearance, but on the inside they're nothing but evil.
Here's my question. What's up with the age group thing? I mean, okay, if we're going to postulate that they're Cambrian, then
I
at
think
some
it's Cambian.
point
Yeah,
Cambian, sorry,
whatever, yeah.
Cambian, yeah. At some point they're gonna grow past 16. So is
Yeah.
it a deal like are they like missionaries? Are they just like, at certain point of their development sent out to the world to collect energy or souls, or I don't know?
Well, for one, it's almost like they feed on the fear. They almost enjoy the fear that they instill in these adults or in these
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
Now, going back to what you just said, how come they're always children?
Yeah.
They're not always children.
Well,
The name itself, yes, black-eyed
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
There are stories, yes, of adults.
What?
Now, okay, let's just give you the example.
Yeah.
We just gave the story that came out in 1998 of a black-eyed child. So
Yeah.
let's assume I wanted to give the youngest age of 6. How many
Okay.
years ago was that?
It's,
That was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So that means that child would be at least 25, 26 years old.
Well, now, but
Yes,
not at
now.
the time of the.
Yeah, who's to say that individual, that creature is dead? Now we
I
gave
didn't
it.
say that.
Now
It's just-
that's that story I gave of like the 80s or whatnot.
Yeah.
So that individual, that child, would have been same thing, 30 or 40.
Okay.
Now I'm looking at a story right here from 1974, I believe, in France.
1974. Okay.
It's the Black-Eyed Beings of the name of the city is Aisne. I can't say it. 1974.
Okay.
Same thing, black-eyed kid. So that means that kid would have been at least in his 50s, assuming he grew and he was allowed to live.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Now where's my point with that?
Yeah.
Okay, my point with that is if you look into the impartial, unbiased research of Dr. David Jacobs
Okay.
and his
yeah.
book Aliens Among Us,
Okay. Yeah.
he gives stories of people that are abducted and used to train these hybrids. They're training them to interact with normal human beings. Because you got to remember, as human beings, we learn how to communicate with each other
Yeah.
because we're around each other.
Yeah,
So
of
when somebody
course.
tells you, when somebody sneezes, your first instinct is to say, God bless you.
Yeah.
Because you see other people
that's
doing
what-
that.
yeah,
When
we-
somebody
we-
says hello, you say hello back, or you say
Yeah,
goodbye, or
by
just
repetition.
yeah, not even
We-
repetition, just
yeah.
interaction. That's how you interact with other human beings. Now, imagine a creature that's lived in complete isolation from other human beings. He's not going to know how
Protocol.
to, basic human protocol.
No, of
When I
course
give you $1 and I need change, you're going to give me 4 quarters.
Yeah.
If that's never taught to you, you would literally have no idea what to do if somebody handed you a $1 bill,
Of course.
or how to buy groceries, or how to anything. Anyways,
Yeah.
so Dr. David Jacobs has literally thousands of stories where individuals are taken, and in the middle of the night, whether it be 2 or 3 in the morning, they're almost compelled to walk side by side with these, I'm going to call them trainees, on how to interact with human beings.
Okay.
So it'll be like at 2 o'clock in the morning at a Walmart,
That's great.
and you see some guy acting really weird with another individual.
Yeah.
Now, what this individual is doing is teaching them how to interact with human beings. They're clumsy, of course, but
Yeah.
it's teaching them how to act with human beings, almost like you said, rehearsing with them. Now, what similarity does it have with the
Oh, I
black-eyed
remember.
kids?
Yeah.
Of course, that their
Yeah.
basic speech to you is almost rehearsed.
Yeah.
Now, David Jacobs, I think he was on a show. Yeah, he was on a show
He
with
was on
Canary
Canary
Cry.
Cry, man.
Super awesome show. And
Yeah.
on top of that, he was on Coast to Coast many times.
Yeah.
Let me, honestly, I'm pretty sure that's his name. Dr.
Yeah,
David
no, I
Jacobs.
think it is.
Because a lot of other researchers referred to him, because of the fact that he is impartial. I honestly, I think he's atheist.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
Is David Jacobs, he was on Canary Cry number 102, titled Alien Hybrids Among Us.
There you go.
With Dr. David Jacobs.
David M. Jacobs, yeah.
Yeah, I remember listening to that episode, and if I'm not mistaken, the thing is that he is a psychologist.
Yeah.
That deals specifically with alien abductees. And to not repeat what you just said, rather add to it, if I'm not mistaken, he was coming up with the conclusion based on all the experience that he had with all these different abductees, to the point where he mentioned that he could spot fakers.
Yes. People faking that they were abducted.
Exactly. Like as soon as he started interviewing them, he could spot some of the people that were faking it just based on the stories and some of the specifics and the nuances in their stories. Anyways, he was postulating the idea that, and by the way, he is a fervent non-Christian.
Super hardcore anti-Christian.
I think that he actually gets into it with Gonz and Basil towards at the end of the
Canary
show.
Cry Radio.
Because I think Basil's the one who kind of brings in the
whole Christ into it.
The whole Christ.
The rebuking.
And he actually gets a little offended.
Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. And they kind of lock horns a little bit. But an interesting thing that he did say is that, one, nobody really knows what quote unquote planet these UFOs abducting people are from.
Or if there are from another planet. Yeah.
Exactly. One, they never mention that, which to me sounds extremely odd for an alien who supposedly traveled who knows how many light years to get to this planet. I mean, the first thing I would do is I'd be like, hey man, I'm from Earth.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Right.
We do it as humans. When we go tourist in another country, you're going to walk around with your big old flag.
Yeah.
Or you're going to walk around with your accent or whatever.
Says the guy who rolls in with the big Texas flag on his
the back of my shirt. Yeah.
That was funny. So that's one really strange thing. They don't seem to claim that they're from anywhere. Another thing is that there's an apparent hierarchy.
Yes.
Of beings within them. The abductees.
So there's like boss aliens and worker aliens.
And they look physically different.
Yes.
And here again, I'm going to throw the word out. We're getting into that empirical data where some of these abductees describe the physical features of these different alien entities, and their descriptions are spot on, and they're similar. And I mean, you're talking about over 1,200 different abductee stories. So back to Jacobs, what he's saying is that, one, they don't claim to be from any planet. Two, there's a hierarchy. And three, their sole purpose, apparently, is to run experiments on trying to combine themselves with us. So again, like Armando was saying, it's not too much of a stretch to imagine that these quote-unquote aliens spawned these black-eyed kids, and they're engaged in some kind of training program. Now, it's no secret that Armando and myself have postulated the idea that quote-unquote UFOs and aliens are nothing more than the remainder of biblical hybrids, as described in Genesis 6. The Genesis 6 narrative talks about, for those of you who haven't heard the show, you can go back. I think that's like episode 2 or 3.
Or all of them. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, we talk about it on all of them. The fallen watchers mated with human women and spawned the men of old, the men of renown, the physical, literal giants. And these had their children, and their children kept diluting the gene pool, if you will. So, it's not a stretch to say, hey, these quote unquote aliens are nothing more than really old demons.
Yeah.
And they're still pushing their agenda.
Yeah.
To this day. So anyways,
so that's what I think a black-eyed child is. Now, do I think they're a vampire? In a sense, I do believe they're there to steal your life force. So they might not there literally to bite you in the neck like a vampire, like Dracula. Yeah. But like I mentioned, I think they do live on fear for a bit. Okay. It's almost like these creatures like doing what they're doing. Yeah. And they just keep on at it. Like I said, these sightings are coming up more and more often.
Are they more prevalent? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, they're getting more and more prevalent. I think just like anything, once you get an open forum about it where people are aware it exists, you're going to get more people reports. That had stories from 10 years ago that were too afraid to talk about it back then because people like our listeners that judge. No, I'm just playing. No. Yeah, just like that. I mean, they were afraid to talk about it back then because afraid of being ridiculed. Yeah. They're able to speak more freely now, even if it's online, because they can post a story.
The anonymity that internet gives you.
That's not to say every story is true, but even let's assume there's a billion stories online. Even if 1% was true, that's still a lot.
Yeah, that's still
a lot.
Food for thought there.
So I think the actual reason why I'm scared is not so much of the gore of these children eating me or something like that. Just the general creepiness of these kids and it's not them always coming at night. I mean, there's stories of these kids straight out daylight. Like you're straight out jogging in the park and a kid will come up to you.
That's a good observation. Yeah, I had not seen that.
It's not like they're not confined to coming out only at midnight or only and when it's dark out. No, some of these stories out there, they're straight out like 5 o'clock in the afternoon jogging, or they're during the day grocery shopping and they're in the parking lot putting their groceries away. So
that's crazy.
They can come out whenever and to whomever.
But it seems like they're kind of selective though about who they contact and what time, because the stories I've heard don't seem to involve like a lot of people. Like they're not going up to a football stadium.
No, they're usually when the individual's alone.
Either alone or just kind of secluded. Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, they literally go up to your home.
Like they almost know that you're home alone.
Yeah, they're not like at the local concert or at a bar.
For the most part, no. I haven't heard any stories like that where they grew up to like, let's say, like a group of people. No.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't want to add to the creepiness of being alone, but
yeah, I think that's really what makes it creepy. And I hate to say it, but that's also one of the reasons why the biggest complaint is people want, well, what happens when they come in? The thing is, nobody knows because either nobody's alive to tell you what happened. Yeah. Or just because honestly, nobody knows. That's what makes them so scary. Yeah. For the most part, once you see them and you let them in, nobody's ever going to see you. Yeah.
Wow. Romantic.
Now, like I said, there's a lot of researchers on it. If you guys want to go deeper into some of these stories, some are obviously fake. Yeah. Some are, they're pretty scary. And there's tons of YouTube videos on them. I think we just saw one how they supposedly arrested a black-eyed kid or two black-eyed kids in England.
Yeah, they had some pictures, right?
Yeah, and that one is actually kind of weird. Actually.
It looks weird because to me the pictures that got shown looked kind of like the mugshots. Yeah, supposedly
of black-eyed kids.
But they didn't have like a number.
They didn't cite a source.
No, and they didn't have a number on the mugshot. It was like an up-close picture.
Well,
of
it's Europe. I don't know if it's different.
I don't know if they do numbers in Europe. Anyways, what I saw was that it looked almost like contact lenses. Yeah. Like those all black contact lenses. Which is one thing that you gotta like look out for. I do want to mention, y'all have to practice and pray for discernment.
Yes, pray that you can identify.
Yeah, and hone your research skills. When we tell y'all to go out there and research,
Don't trust us.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean go out there and believe everything. Just because we're telling you to research doesn't mean that we've previously validated it as totally true. We're on the fence on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
However, we do see certain things that when you correlate it to other things, now they make sense. Like how we just broke it down into how demons and aliens and the alien abduction phenomena, now it makes sense. These hybrid children, these black-eyed kids, now have at least a logical pattern of existence, to where if you're gonna subscribe to aliens being a fallen hybrid, descendants of fallen hybrids, then it's not as much of a stretch to imagine that these black-eyed kids are some of their experiments. See, so going back to discernment, there's a word that we ran into on a video that Armando showed me a few days ago. The word is called axiom. Now, axiom is a mathematical term, and what an axiom means is when you accept a certain equation and you accept it as a given in order for whatever math you're doing to make sense, it's called postulating an axiom, which means that you, at least for the moment, are holding this to be true so that you can continue reasoning other things further than that. So if you, for a moment, hold a small idea like aliens are actually demons, and you hold that to be true just for a moment, and then you put all the rest of the pieces into your big equation, and for some reason now your whole train of thought makes sense, then there's something in that. Invest time into things that now make sense because you hold a certain part of the story to be true. And it's also healthy to do the opposite. Take that same part of the story and now make it untrue and hold it to be totally untrue, and adopt the contradictory posture to whatever you're trying to argue. And if it doesn't hold up, it's kind of like I don't want to say playing a game, but it's kind of like adding the pros and cons into a list and then assuming this to be true, how many pros you see in the whole narrative, and if you hold this to be false, how much of that narrative breaks apart.
Yeah, I see it like puzzle pieces. If it fits together at the end, then you got something.
You got something.
Yeah,
right?
If it doesn't, then you know it doesn't work.
Yeah, so and sometimes in order to see a bigger picture, at least for a moment, you have to assume or hold certain parts of the whole story to be true. That's how I approach any form of deductive reasoning, is by doing that. Just holding parts of it to be true, going through the whole narrative, and you know what? Now these other ramifications that used to seem like islands are actually now connected by this form of reasoning. So, y'all have discernment. Go out there and
pray for the wisdom.
That, and also when you're thinking about these things, throw rocks at your own theories. It is said that a wise man searches for the truth, but only fools assume something to be true before investigating. So, just because we say it, don't hold it to be true without doing some investigation on your own. Or whatever.
Yeah. And to touch on something you just said, this phenomena can be hoaxed. They do sell full eye contact lenses.
Yeah.
And there's even YouTube videos on how to apply them and makeup and all that stuff. So I mean, it can be hoaxed. Now, just like everything, I can imagine some kid out there trying to scare some neighbor or whatever, putting those contact lenses and scaring the crap out of somebody. Don't get me wrong. Look at those clowns. The clown thing that happened last year. Of course, that just faded away.
Whoa.
All it's needed is, of course, you got that one kid that's gonna come up across the wrong person and get shot or something like that.
Wow.
But
those clowns faded out quick when people started pulling guns on them.
Exactly. Yeah. When people started fighting back, yeah. So, how do we fight back against the forces of darkness? With prayer, with rebuke.
Prayer. Yeah.
Now, rather than pulling out the gun or your sword, use your spiritual sword.
Exactly.
That's gonna scare the demons more than any gun.
Yeah.
And like I always do, I come on my little gems at the end.
Okay.
Now, one thing I wanted to, a verse I wanted to say is, of course, something the obvious identifiable trademark of a black-eyed kid is what? His black eyes.
Yeah.
Now, the eyes are something important. It's something, of course, that we see, that we depend on, and that we use every second of every day that our eyes are open.
Yes.
Now, what does the Bible say about your eyes? Specifically, Luke 11:34. The eye is the lamp of your body.
Yeah.
Listen, when your eyes are healthy, your whole body is also full of light. So if you're full of light, you're gonna radiate light.
Yeah.
Second part, but when they are unhealthy, your body is full of darkness. So if your body is full of darkness, what's gonna come out of your eyes? Darkness. And what color is darkness?
Usually black.
It's usually black.
Yeah.
So, like, what did I mention? I believe these kids are soulless creatures, just straight out full of evil, which is why they're incapable of having any kind of darkness, any kind of light coming out of them or radiance. So, it's like looking at a TV screen that's turned off. Yeah. Because there's nothing coming from it. You're looking into a dark void.
There you go. That's
so
good.
that verse does have application to even the black-eyed children.
Yeah.
The reason a human being has hue and pigmentation to their eye, because no matter how evil you are, you still have that inkling of a soul.
Yeah. Amen.
These kids do not.
Yeah.
So they're straight out shells of evil.
Yeah. Shells.
Yeah. And also, white children. I know you mentioned, like, white children, don't they grow up or whatever?
Yeah.
Now, of course, 2 Corinthians 11:14. Satan is gonna masquerade himself as an angel of light. He's gonna use any possible way to attract people to him, even using the form of a child.
Yeah.
Nothing is off limits to Satan. Yeah.
Or anything else.
Now I can easily see a kind-hearted person seeing a child in need. Yeah. That will allow them to come in.
And being more tolerant.
Exactly.
To whatever.
So the enemy will use even children to get under your skin or to even frighten you, just to strike that emotion of fear.
Yeah.
And make you question your faith.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
be sure of that.
Luke 11:34, 2 Corinthians 11:14. Those are two little verses I wanted to just throw out there on how it applies to what we just said. And of course, the famous one, you put on your full armor of God. Yeah. Yeah, use that sword to rebuke him like that pastor did. As it goes to the black-eyed children, I'm good. I don't think we need to do another episode. No. Unless something major comes up. Yeah. We can put in references on the links. References and links on our comments, description
of this episode.
You guys can kind of do the research on yourself. Yeah. Like I said, I like not that I like looking into this stuff, but it interests me. But I think I'm with this topic, I'm kind of wrapped up. I'm all right.
At least for
at least for right now.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So those of you that have questions, comment below. Comment below, and I'm going to refer to the links. That we put on there.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I'm good too. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys. Yeah. And if there's a topic that you all just feel you want to talk about, we'll do just like we did, and we'll branch off just to cover this one topic.
Yeah, for sure. Probably our next English episode will be the Bible and the big picture, to wrap up our first mini series of 5 topics that ended up being like 9 episodes.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all good. That's why we're here. So do comment below. Keep us in mind. rtdradio.com. roadtodamascusradio.com,
Mm-hmm.
camino a damascoradio.com, Road to Damascus YouTube channel. And when we hit that 20,000, did you say comment or subscriber?
Views.
Okay, 20,000 views. Then, man, I better reserve that name before someone takes it.
Yeah, or we'll think of something cool.
Yeah. RTD official or something
like
that.
that. Something awesome.
Yeah. Well, y'all have a good night. God bless.
I pray that you guys are praying for us, and I pray that you never meet one of those children.
Yeah. So do I. Scary.
Yeah. All right, guys. God bless. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Yes.